Hello, BookTube. It's Eric. I am back with yet another book haul. Yesterday, went to a couple library sales, did some thrift shopping, hit a used bookstore, and was about to go to another thrift store when we had some car trouble and had to cut our hunt short. But I did find a whole bunch of stuff, and I think I've organized it pretty accurately. So this is all mixed up. These are from different spaces. I'm going to try and talk about them coherently. So let's start off with this. Your Movie Sucks by Roger Ebert. I didn't always agree with Ebert, but he was a passionate film fan who had favorites and had favorite genres, but I think he did play fair when it came to genre fiction, things like horror movies, science fiction, crime films. He called them good and the bad. As long as you understand his limitations and his blinders, he's well worth a read. These are the films that he hated. And, here's Formula 51, Fantastic Four, Down to Earth, Death to Smoochie, Dear Wendy, which I actually kind of like. What else? Cold Creek Manor. That movie sucked. I actually like Cecil B. Demented. I don't know. I think sometimes he missed the point with some of this stuff. And I understand that sometimes there is a overload that critics have where they see everything. And I also realize a lot of the films I probably like echoed films that he had seen earlier in his life. But he was a great writer when it came to film criticism. So, well worth taking a look at. All right. Kurt Vonnegut copy of the piano, the player piano. I've read some Vonnegut, not a lot, but this was a nice looking copy, so I grabbed it. Okay. We're going to go first with some crime stuff. I didn't know anything about this other than it seemed like a crime novel, so I grabbed it at a thrift shop. Let's talk about a little bit of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, or Alfred Hitchcock compilations. I picked up a bunch of these lately. They've got great covers. Short story compilations. This one's got Robert Bloch. It's got Richard Marston. It's got Harry Kane. Yeah, I look forward to digging into more of these. Another Hitchcock Without a Dust Jacket. Stories that scare even me. This has, let's see. If I know any of these names, Fritz Lieber, Theodore Sturgeon, T.H. White, Donald Westlake. So, like I said, I tend to grab those when I can find them. So I grabbed this large print Alfred Hitchcock Presents Tales to Make You Weak in the Knees. Large print. If you're looking for reading copies of things, sometimes at book sales or library sales, you can find these because a lot of people don't bother to look. I mean, obviously, this is a cooler cover. This is cooler to have on the shelf. But these usually pretty decently bound large print editions are good for reading. So I grabbed that. I grabbed a couple of large print books at this particular sale, including this one, Ellery Queen. I've not read any Ellery Queen, so I grabbed this one. And then Donald Westlake, copy of Trust Me on This One of his humorous novels, large print. I believe these were, maybe they're not Mysterious Press editions. I think Mysterious Press did the regular editions. But this is a reading copy for sure. And usually readers' copies, there's a small population that checks them out. They tend to be a little more careful with the books, and so you tend to get them in better shape. And because it's a limited population that check them out from libraries, you don't get the mass turn of people touching them and having their fingers all over them. Westlake's Don't Ask. I already have a copy of this edition, but this is to give to somebody. I think I got this for 20 cents. So this is a Dortmunder novel that I have yet to get to. Like everything else, I need to get back to the Dortmunders, but I'm looking forward to reading this at some point. This edition is going to a friend. All right, speaking of Westlake, I got a hard case crime. This is 361, which was his first published novel. I've got copies of this, but I think this is nicer than the ones I have, so I have a reading copy and a shelf copy now. Found this. This is one of the final Parker novels. I, once again, have copies. This is going to somebody. So this was a bag sale, so I threw it in the bag. All right. I don't usually pick up these editions, but this one had Sleigh Ground by Richard Stark. A friend of mine I was talking to at work last week, she sounded like she was interested in some Richard Stark, so I grabbed this for her at a thrift shop. she can check it out or not. But yeah, I figured why not? I mean, it's Sleigh Ground, which is one of the great Parker novels, and a good starting point for somebody who's not invested in starting from the very beginning, but it will give him a good idea of what Parker's all about. All right. Another large print that I grabbed was The Chill by Ross McDonald. This is a Lou Archer novel. It's one I read years and years ago. One I will get back to reading as, once again, I get deeper into the Lou Archer series. But this is one that's often cited as a good starting point for people. Let's see here. We'll go more classic detectives. A biography of Nero Wolfe. I have a bunch of Wolfe stuff that I want to get to, but this looks like it's about Wolfe, so I wanted to snag that. A very nice copy of The Long Goodbye, the classic Chandler novel. I read a lot of Chandler back when I was in college. Another one that I want to get back to at some point. And this is a fairly nice, well-bound edition. Okay, I got more detective stuff. Oh, let's go with this one. Lucha Mojo by Joe Lansdale, who I talked about in my last video. Dig his stuff. This was a tie-in for the Hap and Leonard TV series. It's the sticker right there, which sadly has been canceled. First 2 seasons are on Netflix. Check them out. Hap and Leonard, the ones I've read, and I think I read about 4 of them, are really good, so I was happy to grab that. Speaking of detective fiction, I need to throw this over here. I have another copy of this, but snagged it at a bag sale. This is a good introduction for people who want to find out about various detectives and writers. The conceit is current writers writing about their favorite detectives. Here's Mike Phillips writing about Steve Carell of the 87th Precinct books. Who else we got in here? Here's Richard Luboff writing about Hammett's Continental Op. Frederick Nolan writing about Parker Spencer. So this is kind of a good guide for people to maybe get an idea of 100 great detectives and to see authors that maybe they're reading write about other detectives, and people can connect that way. All right, so this is a Lizzie Borden novel by Evan Hunter, a.k.a. Ed McBain, and I snagged that. Got an Ellery Queen. This one's claiming a TV series tie-in, so I'm thinking this is the 70s series. It is, starring Jim Hutton as Ellery Queen. If you're not familiar with Jim Hutton, he is the father of Timothy Hutton, who would play the character on the show Leverage, who would go to a party as his father, playing Ellery Queen. That series is sadly not available. I would like to check it out at some point. There's a couple episodes on YouTube, but Ellery Queen is one of those that I have yet to get around to reading, but I'm a sucker for tie-in books. And so I've started to get some of these that I can actually check out. All right, covered those. We're going to go, this is kind of hacked, but this is Mutants, edited by Robert Silverberg. This is science fiction short stories. This, I think, is from the 70s or 80s. This is from 74. Paul Anderson, Forrest J. Ackerman, Frederick Pohl, Brian Aldiss. Yeah, I've been hearing some good stuff about some of these stories, so looking forward to diving into that. Okay, this is W.K. Jeter's Infernal Devices. This is one of the founding texts of steampunk, which is a genre I have not read a lot in. So this goes into the K.W. Jeter collection, and this is one that I would like to get to sooner rather than later. Stephen King, second of the Mr. Mercedes books. I've yet to read my copy of Mr. Mercedes, but it's on the list, and this is the second volume in the trilogy at this point, and I was thinking I'm probably never going to find it for under $3 again. Or not anytime soon, I should say. All right. So, let's do these. This says Men's Adventure, so I grabbed it, and this looks interesting. Apparently, this is the writer George Chesborough, whose books I've not read, and this is something. Yeah, it says it's copyright George Chesborough. That looked interesting, as did this. I like that cover. Apparently, Basil Heater is a writer, or Heater is a writer of hard-boiled noir. So, but this apparently is more of an adventure kind of a story. Very 70s looking. Picked up a Western. I don't pick them up often, but I grabbed this one because I like the cover. Okay, let's get into a little bit of science fiction. I got Mordred. No idea. I just grabbed this based solely on the cover. That was I was at the book sale. Throw it in the bag. This was recommended to me. Harry Harrison's Dead World trilogy. I heard only good things about this, so grabbed that. Let's go to the usual paperbacks from hell. Thomas Tyron. I don't know if these are paperbacks from hell, but he was the author of The Other, which was one of the 3 books that launched that whole movement. Got those. Richard Matheson. This is Haunted Past Reason. And Richard Matheson, a tie-in edition of I Am Legend. All right, what do we got here? Some Brian Lumley Necroscope novel. So I think I've got like 4 or 5 of the books in that series at this point. All right, let's pull these out. So, Moonblood. This looks more like a gothic, but sure, why not? It says House of Horror on the back. Hounds of Dracula. Dracula Began. The Swarm. There's not a lot to say about some of these. So, Tabitha King. Book of Reuben. All right, so we're going to talk about these. Oh, I also did get a volume of Wildcards. We're going to talk about these next 4, probably a little bit more. Death School. Look at that bell. This book has seen better days, but that is an embossed cover. I need to get that sticker off. But Jan Williamson, this is a zebra horror. We've talked about those in the past. This one I grabbed because of the author and because of the cover. I got this at Goodwill. This is The Sibling by Adam Hall, the author of The Quiller Memorandum. So he's better known for writing the Quiller mysteries, but this kind of grabbed my attention. This is a reader's copy, obviously. I'm going to repair this cover as best I can. But look at those eyes. And this is a Playboy Press book. All right. Got to thank the Paperback Maniac for telling me about this author. He's covered a couple of her books, and I ran into this one at a bookstore that has a nice collection of horror. Well, it's been depleted since my friend and I started going there and buying things, but this is D.A. Fowlers, The Devil's End. And teenage slumber parties around Boy Scout campfires in Sharon Valley, they repeat the same bone-chilling tale 70 years ago on Halloween night. On a Halloween night of bloody human sacrifice. You can imagine where it goes from there. Looking forward to checking this one out. Finally, this one was probably the most interesting thing I found. Never heard of this writer, never heard anything about him. I mentioned we had some car trouble while we're waiting for some help. I read about the first 20 pages. And it seems like a pretty standard setup, but there's something about this guy's prose and his background that intrigued me and was moving the story along. This is Darker Than Night by Owl Going Back. And I looked at that name and I said, either that's a made-up name or he's native. And wouldn't you know it, it's Native American. Interesting to get a Native American writing 1990s era pulp horror. That's going to be interesting to have that point of view. I like the cover. Like I said, I read about the first 20 pages. And it moved along pretty well. You know, family inherits an old creepy house. They're on the old Sawmill Road. They're by the Blood Rock River. All of these things should be hints of don't go there. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this out more. So that's what I got. I grabbed some DVDs. I don't think anybody really cares. Pump Up the Volume, Blood Rain. Copy of this triple feature, which has The Killer Elite, which is a Sam Peckinpah film from the 70s. Most people don't know, and yes, that is Robert Duvall and James Caan. So, until next time, tell me if you know anything about any of these books, if any of these things look interesting. Yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.